He must have wandered round the town all day, in circles. Every so often he would come to himself and realise he was in Rudyard Street or Nile Street. But what did Rudyard Street mean? What did Nile Street mean? Sometimes he thought he would go home, and Dulcie would be swinging on the front gate, shouting rude things at the big boys as they passed, but running to the safety of Mum's kitchen if they made a move to attack her. And Mam would be doing the ironing or putting the stew in the oven. But the moment he turned his steps towards home, the truth came back to him, the burning pile of bricks, and he would turn his steps away again. The last time he came to himself, he was somewhere quite different. On the beach, the little beach inside the harbour mouth that didn't have to be fenced off with barbed wire because it was under the direct protection of the castle guns. He suddenly felt very tired and sat down with a thump on the sand, with his back against a black tarry boat. He closed his eyes and laid back his head. The warmth of the sun smoothed out his face, like Mum had often done with her hands. He smelt the tar of the boat, and it was a nice smell. It was the first thing he'd smelt since the burning gas, and it was a comforting smell. The sun warmed his hands as they lay on the sand, and his knees under his trousers, and in a very tiny world it was nice, nice, nice. It felt as if somebody cared about him and was looking after him. On the edge of sleep, he said, "Mum?" questioningly, and then he was asleep. He dreamed it was just a usual day at home, with Dulcie nagging on and Mum baking and Dad coming in from work and taking his boots off with a satisfied sigh. He dreamed he shouted at them, "There you all are! Where have you been?" And they all laughed at him and said, "Hiding, silly." And it was all right. The all-rightness stayed with him when he woke, a feeling they weren't far away. He lay relaxed, as he remembered lying relaxed in his pram when he was little and watching the leaves of trees blowing, whispering and sunlit overhead. As long as he didn't move, he knew the bubble of happiness wouldn't break. But if he moved, he knew they would go away and leave him again. So he lay on, dreamily. The sun still shone, though it was setting, and the shadows of the cliff were creeping out towards him. And that he knew was bad. When the shadow reached him, the sun would be gone, the world would turn grey, a cold breeze would blow. And it would be time to go home, like the 3 girl bathers who were walking up the beach towards him, chattering and laughing and feebly hitting each other with wet towels. They had a home. He had no home. There was a sort of glass wall between people who had a home and people who hadn't. He watched them pass and get into a little black car that was waiting to pick them up. He thought, with a twinge of resentment, that some people could still get petrol for cars even in wartime. Black market. It would serve them right if the police caught them. Then the car moved off with a puff of blue smoke, and he felt even more lonely. The shadow of the cliff grew nearer and nearer. "Please help," he said to the soft warm air and the dimming blue sky. "Don't leave me." He felt the approach of another night alone, as if it was a monster. The shadow of the cliff was only a metre away now. He reached out his arm and put his hand into it. It felt cold, like putting your hand in water, icy water. And yet still he hoped, as the shadow crept up his arm. He closed his eyes and felt the shadow creeping, like the liquid in a thermometer. Only it wasn't recording heat. It was recording cold.